A sharp, ear-piercing shriek shattered the peaceful suburban atmosphere. "I'm calling 911. This is illegal." Karen, the self-appointed dictator of the HOA, stood fuming at the very edge of my property, her face twisted with rage. Her phone already pressed her ear as if it were some sacred relic of justice. But I didn't even flinch. The deep, rhythmic thudding of rotor blades drummed through the air, steadily growing louder as my personal helicopter made its graceful descent onto the landing pad I had installed just weeks prior. The powerful downdraft from the spinning blade sent a chaotic gust through Karen's meticulously styled hair, causing loose strands to whip around her face in disarray. I smirked, barely suppressing my amusement. "Go ahead, Karen," I said smoothly, my tone laced with calm confidence. "Let's see who actually gets arrested." For a split second, she blinked, her expression betraying a flicker of hesitation. But Karen was not one to be thrown off so easily. With an exaggerated inhale, she spun on her heel and practically shouted into her phone, demanding the immediate intervention of law enforcement against my so-called illegal aircraft. She had absolutely no idea who she was dealing with. My name is Daniel Carter, and I am a United States Senator. I don't flaunt my title, nor do I crave the spotlight. When I'm off duty, I prefer my privacy, which is exactly why I chose this peaceful, high-end neighborhood just outside the city, an oasis where I could unwind and enjoy some semblance of normalcy. Or at least, that had been my plan. Unfortunately, the Homeowners Association had other ideas. More specifically, Karen did. HOAs are infamous for their nitpicky rules, but this one had a secret weapon, a ruthless, power-hungry tyrant named Karen. She wasn't just the HOA president. She was an obsessive control freak who saw the entire neighborhood as her personal kingdom. For 2 long years, she had ruled with an iron fist, issuing absurd citations for the wrong shade of beige, mandating precise grass heights, and doling out fines for unauthorized holiday decorations. When I purchased my home, I made sure double-checked even that it was outside of HOA jurisdiction. But to Karen, that small technicality was irrelevant. In her mind, every home in the area fell under her iron grip. At first, I brushed off her power-hungry antics, choosing to ignore the absurdity. But then, I installed my helicopter pad. This wasn't some slapdash backyard DIY project. It was a fully licensed, FAA-approved, and meticulously permitted landing pad. I needed it for my job. It cut hours off my commute to Washington, D.C. Karen, however, despised it with every fiber of her being. The very first time she laid eyes on it, she stormed onto my property like an outraged dictator preparing for battle. "This is absolutely unacceptable," she screeched, her voice shrill enough to make dogs in the next county howl. I had barely stepped outside when she came stomping up my driveway, HOA rulebook clutched in her hands like a holy text. "You can't just build an airstrip in a neighborhood." Leaning casually against my truck, I crossed my arms and met her furious gaze. "It's a helipad, not an airstrip." She waved a dismissive hand, scoffing. "Same thing. It's loud, it's dangerous, and it violates HOA regulations." "Karen," I said, my tone even unwavering, "I'm not an HOA." She froze, her mouth opened slightly, then snapped shut like a malfunctioning fish. "What?" "My property isn't under HOA jurisdiction. It never was." Her eye twitched. She stood there, processing, before straightening her posture and plastering a smug smirk on her face. "Oh, we'll see about that." With a dramatic pivot, she stomped away. I watched her retreating figure, already bracing myself for whatever nonsense she was about to pull. And sure enough, the battle had only just begun. Within the next week, I received 4 separate letters from the HOA. The first was a warning, claiming my helicopter pad violated community guidelines. The second, an official notice demanding its removal. The third was a lovely little fine, $500 to be exact. And the fourth, a thinly veiled threat, suggesting legal escalation if I did not comply. Each time, I sent back the same response, a copy of my property deed, clearly showing that I was outside of the HOA's control. I foolishly assumed that would be the end of it. I severely underestimated Karen. She became obsessed. If the HOA couldn't control me, then by God, she would. She spread rumors like a plague. I heard he's using that helipad for illegal activities, she whispered conspiratorially to neighbors at the community pool. I bet he doesn't even have the right permits, she murmured at the local bakery. The noise, she lamented, dramatically clutching her chest at anyone who would listen. It's destroying the peaceful charm of our neighborhood. Then came the complaints. Noise complaints, safety complaints, zoning complaints. At first, they were subtle, a grumble from a neighbor here, a passive-aggressive email there. But Karen wasn't satisfied with minor annoyances. No, she escalated. One evening, she cornered me outside my house, arms crossed so tightly she practically cut off her own circulation. I've been more than patient with you, she said, her voice oozing with fake politeness. But you need to remove that pad. I exhaled slowly, meeting her gaze. Karen, I have every legal right to have it. She tilted her head, a cruel smirk curling on her lips. We'll see what the city has to say about that. Sure enough, the very next day, a city inspector knocked on my door, looking half apologetic. Sorry to bother you, sir, he said. We've received multiple complaints about an unregistered helipad. Without a word, I handed him my documents, FAA approval, permits, the whole package. He flipped through them, sighed, and shook his head. Everything here is legal, he confirmed. Karen's been calling nonstop about this. She's persistent. I know. She's going to lose it when she realizes she wasted her time. I know. But Karen wasn't finished yet. And the next move she made, it was her biggest mistake yet. Wait for part 2 as Calm Meng Stay Connected.